Our first presenter is Medal of Honor historian Mr. Doug Sterner. Doug Sterner is a decorated Vietnam veteran who has a love for military history. He's the author of 115 books and played a leading role in Pueblo becoming named America's Home of Heroes. My friends, Mr. Doug Sterner.
Thank you. And what a thrill it is to be in my hometown today for National Medal of Honor Day in Pueblo, Colorado, America's Home of Heroes. National Medal of Honor Day began in 1990 in the state of Washington. It was the brainchild of Donald Kirby Ross, a Colorado Medal of Honor recipient who earned the Medal of Honor on December 7th, 1941 at Pearl Harbor. He retired from the Navy to Washington State, where he and his wife Helen became Medal of Honor historians. In 1990, the state of Washington prevailed upon our president, George W. Bush, to declare March 25th, 1991, National Medal of Honor Day. Now, that public law established only that one year as National Medal of Honor Day. It was a special event, but it was kind of below the current. And I point this out because you people in Pueblo have much to be proud of. This celebration we have today, Pueblo led the way. In 1996, our 4 Medal of Honor recipients came home to Pueblo, along with 13 other Medal of Honor recipients from across the nation, for a week of activities that included on March 25th, National Medal of Honor Day, each of those recipients doing 3 school assemblies covering every single public and private school in the city and county of Pueblo. The city and county of Pueblo printed 30,000 blue ribbons that said National Medal of Honor Day to encourage our children to become heroes in whatever way they could become heroes. Following that event, our Congressman, Scott McGinnis, introduced 2 pieces of legislation in Congress. One was to raise the stipend for Medal of Honor recipients from its $200 to a larger amount. The other was to establish National Medal of Honor Day as an annual observance. It didn't pass that year, but the following year, the Congressional Medal of Honor Society picked it up, pushed it through Congress, and now we have National Medal of Honor Day. We celebrated again the following year in 1997. I'm sure you'll remember it, Drew, because it snowed like crazy. Nothing like what we got today. In fact, the Medal of Honor Society president, Paul Buca, was supposed to be joining us, and he got stuck at the airport in Denver. And despite the efforts of many, to and including the Colorado Highway Patrol, he was unable to be here, but we still had a wonderful event as the display was unveiled at Colorado's Convention Center, which features all 3 designs of the Medal of Honor, one of the few places in America that anyone can walk in and see all 3 designs of our Medal of Honor, Army, Navy, and Air Force, on public display. Why March 25th? In the spring of 1962, an American civilian by the name of James J. Andrews, who was a Union spy, conceived of a daring plan to send a group of American soldiers into Confederate country to take and use a captured locomotive to destroy rail lines, telegraph systems, and disrupt the activities of the Confederate forces. When it was approved, 24 men from Ohio joined to become Andrews Raiders. They infiltrated to Georgia. 21 of them got there. 2 actually missed the train, but the other 19 got on the train and made the trek through Georgia up to Chattanooga, Tennessee, destroying rail lines, destroying telegraphs, and causing some unrest in the Confederate States. All were captured. James J. Andrews was hung almost a week later, and 6 others of his raiders were also hung 10 days later. The others spent the next year in prisoner of war camps. 6 of them were repatriated in early 1863 in a prisoner of war exchange, and they made their way to Washington, D.C., where they were met by Secretary of the Army, Stanton. And he was so impressed with their story, he walked into a room and came back out with 6 medals of honor, and he said, you know, Congress has established this. You men shall be the first to receive it. And he presented the first medals of honor on that day, March 25, 1863. And that is why Medal of Honor Day is now, each year, on March 25th. It's fitting, I think, that those first medals of honor were awarded to members of the Andrews Raid. And if you've never seen the movie, Walt Disney came out with a movie called The Great Locomotive Chase. Look it up on demand and watch it. It's very well done. Fess Parker starring in it. It's well worth their time. But you know, the Andrews Raid was not successful. In fact, for all practical intents and purposes, it was a dismal failure. But you see, unlike a Lombardi trophy that you win for doing something great like winning, unlike an Academy Award that you win for being a good actor or actress, the Medal of Honor isn't about winning. It's about courage, commitment, determination. Our Medal of Honor recipients, when Pam and I first started bringing them to Pueblo in 2000, and are in 1993, numbered 2004. We are now down to 63 living Medal of Honor recipients. What a privilege for Pueblo to have 2 of them here with us on this day. So why is this important? I'd like to give you a couple of reasons why it's important to know who our Medal of Honor recipients are, not just from Colorado or from Pueblo, but all across our nation, and those as well who have passed on, whose pictures you can see throughout this room. The Medal of Honor isn't earned on a good day. No heroic award is earned on a good day. It's earned on a young man or woman's worst day of their life. The day they saw their friends severely wounded, killed in action, may have themselves been wounded. Many, all too many, killed in action. When you ask a Medal of Honor recipient, what did you do to earn the Medal of Honor? They didn't win anything. They'll be quick to point that out to you. You're asking them to recall one of the very worst days of their life, which is why it's incumbent on those of us who do not wear that medal to learn their stories and share those stories so that they don't have to. But the Medal of Honor serves many other functions as something that we need to teach our children, teach ourselves, because of all that it represents. First of all, the Medal of Honor, while being a singular award, is also a representative award. Every Medal of Honor recipient I have ever met has said something to the effect, I don't wear this medal for myself. I wear it for my comrades, for the men and women I served with, many of whom did things, some of them maybe even earning a Medal of Honor, but nobody witnessed what they did. And so while you honor that man who wears that medal, you honor his comrades who also served. One Medal of Honor recipient, I'll share one quick story, once told me he was in a squad of 13 men that went through a horrible battle. 3 were killed. He was severely wounded. While recovering in the hospital, his platoon commander came in to visit him. And he said, young man, I have 13 men who each deserve the Medal of Honor. But you know, as well as I do, that I cannot submit 13 men for a Medal of Honor. So I have to determine who will best wear that medal on behalf of all the others. And I have chosen you. You know, that's the burden that we don't think about with the Medal of Honor. I don't envy any Medal of Honor recipient. They carry a weight of history and an importance to live lives that are admirable and constantly under scrutiny and they wear it very, very well. The Medal of Honor is also an award that people don't looking for. All too often, it's been earned by people who did the wrong thing for the right reason. Marine Corps legend Chesty Puller, once talking to Marine Corps bad boy, Ace, Medal of Honor recipient Greg Bullington said, "It's only a short distance from a Navy Cross to a general court-martial." How true that is. The very same thing that can get you recognized with an award can get you in trouble. You know, just 2 weeks ago, I was working on my book on Washington State heroes, and I wrote the story of Jesse Drowley of Spokane, Washington, who during World War II at Bougainville was ordered to remain behind in reserve as forces went forward. And as they pushed forward, he saw 4 men laying out there in a field, wounded, and no one going to their assistance. And against orders, he went out and recovered them. And then he jumped on a tank and led the tank to knock out the machine gun nest that had been firing on them. He was told he was going to be court-martialed, and he really thought he was. Instead, he was indeed awarded the Medal of Honor. How many of you have seen the movie Devotion about Tom Hudner? See it. It's well done. True. Tom Hudner landed a perfectly good Navy Corsair and crash-landed it on a mountainside in Korea so his comrade, Jesse Leroy Brown, the Navy's first black aviator, would not die alone. He could have been severely, severely reprimanded for that action. Instead, he was awarded the Medal of Honor. Further, the Medal of Honor is a reflection of our country. It shows our demographics, and it stands as a testament to our young people that you too, when called upon, can rise to the challenges and be a hero. They come from all ethnic backgrounds. Some of the great heroes of World War II were Japanese-American soldiers, Nisei, whose families were imprisoned in concentration camps, who served in the Army and became the most decorated unit of World War II. It has nothing to do with how big, how small you are. We think of heroes and we think of John Wayne. I think of some of the faces I've seen of young men, bespectacled, small of stature, who in a moment of crisis rose to the challenge, and their example tells every young boy, small, tall, medium, stocky, even overweight, you too can be a hero. I think, for instance, of John Baker, 5'2" tall, and Robert Foley, 6'4" tall. John was an enlisted man. Baker was a West Point graduate and an officer in the same battle. And if you ever get a chance to see the picture of Lyndon Johnson presenting their Medals of Honor jointly, as he bent down to decorate John Baker and then had to do this to decorate General Foley, it gives you a view of the contrast of those who have received the award. They come from Ivy League backgrounds and high school dropouts. They come from rich families. They come from poor families. Bottom line, they come from America. And Pueblo, they come from Pueblo, Colorado. Home of heroes, home of 4 Medal of Honor recipients, but we're not the home of heroes because of those 4 Medal of Honor recipients. They were the impetus, the inspiration, but for all the other men and women who have served and served wonderfully throughout history. Let us not forget the heritage that we have, and now a responsibility as a home of heroes to be the example to the rest of our nation. Thank you very much. Happy Medal of Honor Day.
Thank you, Doug Sterner. Next, U.S. Army Chief Warrant Officer 2 Alan Hankins has spent his adult lifetime In the military and while serving with the Joint Color Guard team in Denver, he became involved with the Center for American Values. Through that affiliation, he penned the poem that is now the official poem for the Medal of Honor Society. He's here today to share his poem, Little Blue Ribbon. Welcome, Chief Warrant Officer 2, Alan Hankins.
So before I read the poem, just a little bit of background. In 2017, I was involved in the Medal of Honor convention. I actually did the Color Guard event, and I just continued to do it. So while sitting at dinner one day, I was with Robert Patterson, Drew Dix, and Hershey Miyamura. And as I sat there, I just listened to their stories. Their stories are what inspired this poem that I'm about to share with you. Little Blue Ribbon. They are more humble than anyone you have ever met. These men wear something that makes them never forget. We will never understand the valiant acts of courage that they had to display, but they remember the ones that didn't come back that day. They wear a light blue ribbon with 5 stars so bright. The medal that goes with it is not so light. It's not just another ribbon on their rack. It's the stories that go with it that will take you back. With the most piercing eyes you have ever seen, what is this little blue ribbon, may you ask? It's the Medal of Honor and comes with quite the task. I can't imagine the burden they bear, that little blue ribbon that only a few men wear. I've seen this medal worn by men young and old. Little do we know their stories untold. With the most piercing eyes you've ever seen, each recipient holds something that's not the most serene. They carry this medal wherever they go. They wear it as a memory and representation of their fallen brothers that we will never know. A father, brother, uncle, or son, they carry this medal for someone. Always behind the medal stands the most unwavering one. With the memory of war, every time they close their eyes, dreaming and hearing their brothers' cries. We will never know the burden they bear. Memories of them, we will make sure to share. Next time you see that little blue ribbon, look beyond the humble man that's wearing it and understand what's hidden. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief Warrant Officer 2, Alan Hankins. Next, Major Drew Dix, Medal of Honor recipient and co-founder of the Center for American Values, cares deeply about America. He has made it his life's work to keep the stories of the Medal of Honor recipients alive in the hearts and minds of all Americans. Major Dix is an inspiration to students across the nation through the Center's educational programs focused on honor, integrity, and patriotism. My friends, Major Drew Dix.
Thank you, Kim. And also, Doug, thank you for that history. It's very enlightening for a lot of those that thought they knew all of the history about it, but it's good to know the details. And Chief, great job, and it's good to have you and your family here and be a part of this family. This is a great day, and what makes it special, as what was already alluded to, is that the Medal of Honor is awarded to an individual recommended by those that they served in battle. And the humbling experience of that is that someone or a group of people during a tough time thought you were worthy to wear that medal. And so we always think of those that we fought alongside, and it's something that we carry with us. And many of you have heard what we do here at the center, and I see a lot of familiar faces. But what I'd like to make sure you understand is that what we do here with this small number of people, maybe 150, 60, 70 people, this is actually going out. It'll be streaming. See, I learned the word. I know how to do that now. Streaming out to the rest of the country. So what we do here is not just talking to each other over and over again. It is going out to those that just might need a little nudge on the sacrifices that have been made for this country. It's really special for me to have my good buddy Ron here. Of all the Medal of Honor recipients, I've known him the longest. And, you know, we've been some places, done some things. We're in Special Forces, and there's one story that will probably go to our grave because I won't tell it. He can't. But it was someplace that we don't mention. And we have an admiration for each other that is far greater than what some people might think is their family, because, you know, you can't choose your family either, even though I have a wonderful family, Faith Doreen, sister. But we are pretty tight that way. And for him to come here is, I got to say this, I hope I don't embarrass Ron, but he's having some issues with some damage that he sustained many, many years ago. And for him to come here is quite a burden. And I personally appreciate it. So I want everybody to welcome my buddy Ron Ray. Don't ask him, there might be question period here, what the story was. He won't tell you. And if he does, I get to come up after anyway. So thank you, Ron. Please, I think someone else is on the schedule, but I wanted to personally thank you and let all these great people know that what we got going. So thank you very much.
It is fitting today, as National Medal of Honor Day, to remember 4 of our fellow Medal of Honor recipients who recently passed on. Please focus on the screens. Hiroshi Hershey Miyamura for his service in the Korean War, date of action April 24, 1951. Frank Herta for his service in the Vietnam War, date of action June 29, 1968. Roger Donlin for his service in the Vietnam War. Roger Donlin was the first Medal of Honor recipient from the Vietnam War, date of action July 6, 1964. And Larry Taylor for his service in the Vietnam War, date of action was June 18, 1968. Would you all please stand? Thank you, Stephen Arthur, with the Buglers Across America. Please be seated. Our special guest is the Honorable Ron Ray, former Assistant Secretary of Veterans Affairs and Medal of Honor recipient. Lieutenant Colonel Ray is a proven leader, entrepreneur, and advisor. He has an outstanding record of success in the military, government service, and business ventures. For his gallantry in action and intrepidity above and beyond the call of duty, Lieutenant Colonel Ray received the Medal of Honor for actions taken during the Vietnam War on June 19, 1966. Please focus your attention to the screen.
Childhood was interesting in the fact that we were what they call today migrant farm workers. A lot of people thought that was a very, very strenuous life for kids, but it taught me a lot of values. Talking to my mother actually yesterday, just before coming up here, and she always begrudges the fact that we had to travel like that and do all the work we did. And I hug her and kiss her and say, it's probably the best thing that ever happened to me in my life, was the fact that I learned at a very early age to work with people, to understand that a good day's work, there's nothing bad wrong with it.
Ronald Ray left high school in 1959 to enlist in the Army. After serving a 3-year tour, he re-enlisted to become a member of the U.S. Army Special Forces. By June of 1966, Ray was in charge of a platoon with the 35th Infantry, operating in the Yadrang Valley. They were part of a larger operation intended to stop the North Vietnamese from entering Vietnam from Cambodia.
And basically what we were trying to do is set listening posts and outposts along the Cambodian border to monitor infiltration of North Vietnamese troops into the central highlands of Vietnam. And so I had set up about 3 listening posts along my sector. We went out on a patrol one day and we captured one guy and I had to shoot another one. I never forget when I went over and rolled his body over and started searching the body to see what's on it. It was only one thing on his whole body, and that was a little fold out, like a little billfold. And on one side of it was a picture of a lady, and on the other side was a picture of a kid. And that to me brought back to me, you know, what war is all about. I mean, it's actually, and that's something we all have to think about as individuals in life, is that the fact is, war is an inhumane act. And it takes the lives of the most precious asset, and that's our young. After about the 3rd or 4th day, we discovered a number of large trails being cut within my sector. I had the suspicion of being an old country boy that there was something going to happen in my sector, and I kept telling the company commander, who was in the lower part of the Yadrang, and he was totally convinced, no, it wasn't going to happen where I was at, it was going to happen where he was at, like he had did the year before in '65. So what I did do, though, I beefed up one listening post where the big trails were being cut along the stream bed and trail crossings. And I sent out a patrol that went along that area, and I told the patrol to stay there with that listening post that day. I just felt something was going to happen. And sure enough, that outpost got surrounded. I got a call saying we're pinned down and we can't break contact. So I had a decision. I called my company commander, called everybody, said I need reinforcements. They still said it's just a minor probe. I said, no, I don't think it is. It's a big push, and I'm going to get my troops. Then we took off through the jungle, heading toward the location. We had to fight our way into them. And so we broke through the lines, got to my unit that was surrounded. Sure enough, I had one guy hit in the head. Vincent Mueller was shot in the head. We were trying to do something with him, and by that time we had a machine gun or two putting a lot of directed fire on us, and I tried to get a squad to move in to knock out the machine gun, and the guys moved in and got pinned down. Only thing to do then was somebody had to get rid of the machine gun before it started killing all my troops, so I moved forward and knocked out the machine gun and 4 or 5 people with a shotgun and some grenades.
Moments later, several of Ray's comrades were trying to evacuate the wounded when they too got pinned down. Ray went to their rescue, killing the attacking enemy, but not before they shot him in the legs.
And just turned around at that time, and I still was able to move, and they lobbed another grenade in next to 2 of my individuals, my radio operator and Vincent. And I yelled at them and yelled, but they didn't. They didn't move. So I was already hit, so I dove in between, covered their bodies, and then I got some more grenades in the legs. There was no question to me, and never has been. My life was not near as worth as any one of those. If there had to be someone to die that day, it was going to be me, not them. still receiving fire from one area. Pulled myself over and took the last 2 grenades I got and flew in on those guys and got rid of them. Then it was something else. Just totally peace. Not one shot. Couldn't hear anything. And there we were. Everything just seemed to stop. So it started picking up, and I realized then I couldn't move. My legs were, I was paralyzed from waist down. So I said, okay, this is no problem. I said, you guys get everything up, get up, leave me the shotgun and 2 things, and get going. And so they all started packing up. I never forget, they all get up and they started running, and finally started running. He said, what are you saying? I said, get on out of here. He said, what do you mean get out of here? I said, I'll cover you, just get out of here, don't worry about it. He said, no sir, I'm taking you with me. He said, okay, we're the last 2 out. So everybody took out and he picked me up and put me across his shoulder and he carried me down the hill. Pretty neat, pretty neat. The troops on the ground wanted me to get the highest award. It was presented by President Nixon. It was a moving ceremony, it really was. It was definitely one of the top events in my life. But the truth of it is, it was being able to be honored by my country for doing what I should do. You know, I didn't do anything more than what everybody should do. I mean, if you're a leader and you're entrusted with the leadership of human beings and so forth, that's what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to lead them best you can, fight the battle the best you can, but you should protect them the best you can. And that's all I did, was protect my troops.
My friends, the Honorable Ron Ray.
Thank you very much. Yeah, you better sit down. This is going to last a while. Basically, thank you all very much. As you know, Doug, where's Doug at, Steiner? I was retreating. You understand that? So I still got an award for retreating, so that was great. But it's just really a big honor for me to be here, especially with people like I've known for years, and special for my great friend, Drew Dix. Drew and I, we go back a long ways, and yes, there's tales of all kinds of heroic things that we tried to do in those days, but we also had a lot of fun together. And so today I just want to rest in this a little bit about what it means to be a Medal of Honor recipient and why it's an encumbering thing. And we always get the awards, we always get the accolades and stuff like that. But we have so many people in America today that are doing great things for us. And we all got to think about what they do for each of us that means so much. And I just think about the people sitting here with this board. What a great thing you've done here. It's just super to see the Center for American Values come to grips like this and see all the people out here today. What a great thing. And I'm always touched when I see my thing. I said, Jesus, was that really true? As old as I was, I'm getting old now, and there's things I was born on December 7th, 1941. So it was a good day in life, but it's a bad day for a lot of people. But I just look back on it, and I think about what we've done and where we've come today. And I've got concerns now. I really do have concerns where we're at today. And I want to talk about those a little bit and what we can do about them and what I think we should do. First of all, we ought to start picking out people, mentors, people who really are doing things today, not just in wartime, but in peace. And I just want to single out one person I want to talk about a little bit. We have an individual here today that served 44 years on the Denver Police Department, 44 years of service to his city and our country. Then he turns around and retires. He didn't retire like I did. I quit. This guy continues to go. He continues every day to support his people and just do everything for us. And I just can't thank him enough. Henry Jones here for us today. Thank you. Now, I know that Drew told me that I didn't have to stand up for too long and speak because I might fall down and all that. But, you know, give Ron Ray a mic, it's like throwing Burr Rabbit into a fire pit, you know. So I want to say a couple more things about where I think we ought to go. And we all ought to think, we need change, right? We need some change in this country. So I got to thinking about that. What can we do to make a change? What can each individual do to make a change? And it reminded me of a great song by Michael Jackson, Man in the Mirror. Do y'all know that song? Man in the Mirror. If you want to make a change, you got to make it with yourself. So we all got to pull together and start making some changes. And my wife tells me all the time all the changes I need to make. And I'm working on them. I'm just working on them as hard as I can, but I seem to mess up once in a while. But I still, every day, I when I get on the plane, on my phone has Man in the Mirror. And I listen to it. And I think about what things have I done to make myself better? What have I done to make my country better? And then I think about all the people who are doing so much more than me. And I get to saying, what would you like to have in this world? More Ron Rays or more Henry Joneses? I say we need more Henry Joneses. We need people who care, who want to get out there and help their people, do things for them. And so today, I want to thank all those, especially the volunteers here today, for all you do, for all of us. So just think about that. Think about all the things you do and what you can do more, by the way. I know Drew wants me to tell you, do a lot more, you know, come on. But it's just invigorating for me to come here and see all this happening and see what my buddy has, the co-founder sitting here in the front row. 50 years together, 50 damn years, you know. You're going to have to, hey, I'm going to say some things you're going to have to blip out, buddy. But that's the way life is. And, you know, I just think what happened to me and what happened to me ever since then. It took a long time for me to recover from some of the things but I had all kinds of great mentors, people who assisted me, people there to help me every day. And just think about what that meant to me in those days, what it means now. We got people out there today who need your help. So we need to think about that too. We need to get out there and help those people who need our help. And I always think about a couple things in life. When I started to listen to Man in the Mirror, I think about myself. And every morning when I get up, I look in the mirror, and I want to be pleased with what I see there. So I hope all of you take the time to look in the mirror and make sure you're pleased. Thank you very much. What I have to think about when I think about the state of our services today, I look back on history. I look back on the 4 wars that we've had to pass. And we've not done well with them. And I think that some of that has to do with choosing what wars we're going to fight. You know, there's a lot of places we're going to go. I don't care how many people kill, how long we stay there. We're not going to change them. So we as Americans have a propensity to think that if we go somewhere and we don't understand people, what we need to do is make them like us so we understand them. And it's never worked. I see my friend sitting over, Steve, shaking his head. Back in Special Forces days when we started, we went there and we tried to help people, and we helped them what they wanted to achieve. Not what we wanted to achieve, but what they wanted to achieve. And we now, on some status, we go places and we try to take over and we try to make them like us. So I think we have a decent military, but they're trained for things that are not what we need to be trained for today. That's what I think. Uh-oh, Sergeant. Okay.
How are you doing today, Lieutenant Colonel?
I'm doing fine, sir.
What would you say to young people trying to join the military service?
Well, I think it's I think it's an honorable thing to do. I mean, that's what I started. I started off being a migrant farm worker, traveling with the family. My first leadership job, I was commanding 200 field hands at 14 years old. So when I got in the military, I was able to really exceed expectations and work hard. If you do that in the military and work hard, you'll get promoted, and you're going to do things right. And you're going to have people there that's going to look at you and say, I should be like him, not like the other guy just breaking over here. So I think it's a great thing to do. And if you only spend a couple years in or 3 years in, come back, get your GI Bill, and go get your education. And I talk about education all the time. I always talk about kids. I talk about identify, build, and drive. I and most people want to identify and drive. They don't want to build. We have to start building. If you identify something you want to accomplish, you have to build the capacity within yourself or your team to accomplish that. And then you have to drive it to completion. Most of us want to drive and just drive, just keep going. And I tell the kids, if you want to have a date with a good-looking little girl, what are you going to do? You can walk up and say, let's have a date. Or you can identify her as that's one you want to do. Then you start building. You start sending notes. You start leaving, like I did with my wife, leaving flowers on her doorstep. You start doing that, you build. Then when you pop the question, if I say no, you know you did something wrong somewhere. But you've got to learn to build. And the more you build, the better off you're going to be. So education is very powerful. Yes. Oh, hi. Sir.
What book has inspired you the most?
What book has inspired me the most? Jesus, I don't even read. No. Mom, no, I would think, I can't remember what would, I read a lot of books. I love to read, and I continue to read. Except my wife reads more than I do. She tells me I got to read more books. But I think any type of education, the books that you have. But you got me there. I don't know which one I would choose out on that. And I'm about half drunk up here, so I don't know what I would say. Okay. Yes, sir.
What does Medal of Honor Day mean to you?
Medal of Honor Day means to me, well, it's a recognition of my service. It's a recognition of Drew Dix's service. But it's also a recognition of the country who awarded us the medals. It's being honored by our nation. It means a lot to all of us. Always have and always will.